thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. And I obviously now spend a lot of time thinking about things like insurance and pension. And when you mention that at a party, you're not immediately the most popular person in the room, obviously. So it's because insurance is considered, and you can probably tell that from your own experience, insurance is considered to be something old, boring, Prussian, and something that's really about rules, such as this guy, its inventor. However, others believe that insurance has been invented way before by this guy. Yes, you're right, it's a pirate. It's Henry Morgan. And he promised his crew 6 slaves if they were to lose a right arm. Now this paints a whole different picture of insurance, a picture of danger, adventure, defying rules and freedom, and that's the side of insurance I want to take you on. Consider me your insurance pirate if you want. And not just the history of insurance might be different than what you expected, also it works different with some very common service design principles, such as these. So in this talk, I want to reflect on some of them, on these 6 actually, and it's less about showing work we've done, it's more thinking about and reflecting on methodology. I brought some actual customer insights from our research and highlight how these support the idea that those principles work a little different in insurance than in other industries. So the 6 principles I want to talk about are triggers, tangibility, value propositions, target groups, touch points, and finally I want to share my take on delight. Let's start with triggers. Usually you design around a trigger, the moment when the customer really realizes the need for the product you offer. And so you design your whole product and service and the marketing all around the trigger, because you want to offer the product or the service when and where the customer needs it. That's why you find gas stations close to a highway or heart-shaped chocolates around Valentine's Day. However, if we talk to our customer about insurance, we learn that there is no trigger. Because a very common attitude towards insurance is, nothing's going to happen anyways. I'm healthy, I have a job. Why should that ever change? So this obviously poses a challenge for us because we're looking for triggers usually. And I mean, there is a trigger for insurance, which is when something bad has already happened, but then it's too late to buy insurance. And typical insurance products are made to be bought just in case you need them. So what's left for us is that we need to think about ways of selling the customer something before they actually need it. If we go back to the chocolates and think about how the Valentine's Day chocolates would work if they work the same way as insurance does, it would mean our customer would have to stock up on Valentine's Day chocolates years in advance without even having a partner. Just in case somebody shows up and it happens to be a Valentine's Day. Now that we successfully hijacked triggers, let's move on to tangibility. We aim to give the customer something they can experience. Usually right after they gave us some money, we want to give them something and have them feel the value of what they just purchased. And that's why shopping is fun, because you're looking for things you want to use and you look forward to use, such as if you go to shoe shopping, for example. You're going to a store, you're interested in shoes that you can imagine yourself wearing, and then once you put them on, you can walk around in them and immediately feel the value of what you just bought and show it off and say, yeah, look what I just bought. You can guess that insurance is a little bit different. When we talk to customers about their car, we learn that there's lots of costs associated with the car that they feel they don't benefit from. And insurance obviously is one of them. So they feel they're paying a lot and they don't get anything for it. And they're right. Insurance is very virtual. It's a promise, and it's not something that you can own and hold in your hands. And on top of that, you can only experience the service very rarely, if ever. And also, you don't want to be in the situation when you need it. So what we need to do is we need to sell a promise that the customer hopes they won't ever have to make use of. And if shoe shopping worked the way insurance does, it would mean that you would go to a shoe store with only shoes that you would never want to wear, and then you were forced to pick a pair, and then instead of handing the shoes to you for you to wear, we would keep them for you and just send you a yearly update on how the shoes are doing, if they increased in value, or if they're still in style. Next, value propositions. Usually, we do a lot of research to understand the customer's needs in their very moment, in their life situation they're in right now, and then we want to learn about the problems they have right now, the wishes they have right now, and just address these things. We want to then stimulate indulgence. We want to motivate them to act on those wishes and dreams and on their problems and solve them. And the time span between actually finding out about that wish and acting on it becomes shorter and shorter, such as it's the case with Netflix. So you basically wire them some money and you can start immediately watching your favorite movies and shows. So how does insurance work? We're actually not telling our customers to, yeah, you really want this, you should get it. We're telling them with lots of products such as pension services, we're actually telling them, no, don't spend that money right now. Take it aside and use it later. And it's actually not very intuitive because people prefer to spend money on a new TV, a new motorcycle, or going on a vacation, something they can benefit from right now. So insurance is different because we're not speaking to the person in front of us. We need to help that person empathize for a different person, their future you. That strange person they're going to become in the future, and they might not even want to think about who they might be in the future. Because you're not buying insurance for yourself, but for a future you. So we need to help them empathize for that person they're going to become. So if Netflix would work the way insurance works, you would basically browse through a selection of movies with cryptic titles that don't make any sense to you, and the screenshots are also very blurry, so you can hardly imagine what that means. And then once you pick one, we would say, no, you cannot watch that right now, you should watch that in 40 years. Next, target groups. So you've probably experienced that design methods work best if you have a clearly defined target group. That's why we use personas and target group descriptions, and it even works better if you can fully customize an offering to one individual. And this trend has even reached mundane things like muesli. So My Muesli is a company that offers a configurator for your very personal muesli, and you can have it sent to you every month, I guess. So, and that wish to have something truly own also applies to insurance. When people look at the insurance contract, they often get the feeling that they're paying for a lot they don't need. And they ask us, can you take that out? I don't think I need that coverage for golf carts. However, customization and personalization contradict the very nature of insurance. Because insurance only works if everybody has insurance. Because we need to distribute risk over a large and diverse group of people. And as strange as it sounds, insurance is about community. So what we need to do is that we need to balance the needs of the individual with those of a group. And if muesli would work the way insurance works, you would actually have to pay for a muesli with lots of ingredients you don't like, but just because somebody else likes them. Okay, now let's have a look at touch points. You get it, also might be a little different. So we seek to, and that's an underlying assumption that, it's good to have regular interactions with your customer. And also in insurance, Bain & Company find out this is true. The more touch points we have with our customer, the higher are the loyalty scores, such as the NPS. And the obvious solution to that problem is, yeah, just increase the frequency of interaction. And you can see that trend with a lot of other products, or that used to be just products with one touch point. For example, Nike used to sell shoes, and there was one touch point, the sales moment. But what they did is they invented a whole ecosystem of services added onto the shoes and their sports products, so that now the customers would not only interact once in their lifetime of a product with the company, but actually every day, and if not several times a day. And what happens is that whenever you tracked how many steps you've taken today, you're actually growing closer to the Nike brand. So, but it turns out it's not that easy to increase the frequency of interaction with insurance. Because I can't and don't want to think about the event of damage. It's because it's very uncomfortable to think about all of the bad things that can happen. But actually what we do when we try to message them and even help them with their daily lives or try to introduce any kind of interaction, we actually are reminding our customer of all the bad things that can happen just because we're an insurance company. So what's left for us is to think about where can we really increase the value and where we can really deliver something special is actually in the one moment that counts, which some people never experience, but that's another topic. We need to create loyalty in one single moment that counts, and we really need to invest a lot of time thinking in how we can improve that one moment that counts for the insurance customer. So, and if the fuel band would work the way insurance does, and now this is going to sound absurd, but this is actually how insurance has to work. So you would never have to put the fuel band on, you would never have to train, never go running, but then you decided one moment that you would put it on, and then you would be in perfect bikini shape immediately, ready for the beach. So, finally I want to take a little time thinking about delight, because that's the topic of the conference. And on many projects we're actually asked, can you make insurance as cool as these new startups and companies, or can you make it more delightful than it is right now? And then to give you a few examples that actually took something very normal and day-to-day or everyday life and elevated that into an experience is Headspace, for example. Because a couple of years ago, meditation used to be something very nerdy and very private, if not even hippie-like, but today it's made very approachable with an app with really cute illustrations and very whimsical interactions. Then Ete Petete is a company that took something that just used to be ugly vegetables and turned it into a representative of a healthier lifestyle, a lifestyle of conscious living and saving the planet. And picking up your car from the manufacturer used to be something very transactional. You got the key and you drove out, but BMW took that very normal and boring experience and turned it into something premium, where we are pampered, starting with breakfast in the morning and ending with panoramic views over Munich. Now the question is, can we do the same with insurance? No, maybe. We actually tried that. We took prototypes and tried to introduce more whimsical interactions and imagery, and all of those prototypes got immediately rejected by our participants with this response: insurances should be serious and help me. And now you could say, well, this is because the Germans don't like any fun and Germans want to be serious. But there's something deeper to this. And if you think about that moment, the very moment of insurance, the claim, it becomes evident why this response exists. It's because those moments are at least uncomfortable, if not truly tragic, like somebody died or your house burned down. So we're talking about these types of things. And in that moment, you might not want to be delighted. You want to be helped. So I suggest that for insurance, we prioritize help over delight. Because what delivering value in insurance means to communicate at eye level with our customer, to have an empathic tone of voice. We need to offer a plan where the customer might not have one because it's a new situation for them and also they're really stressed out. And finally, we really need to start getting our hands dirty. We shouldn't just wire our customers some money and be done with it, but we need to actually help them solve the problem they have. So this was my quick review of the 6 principles. And now you might have noticed that, okay, it might be actually a little bit different to work in insurance. And actually, that's why it's interesting. And considering that insurance comes from the Caribbean, maybe, that might not be a surprise. And for me, these little things that are a little bit different than in other industries is actually what makes insurance very fascinating for me to work in. So, to say it with the words of another very famous pirate, it's more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules. Thank you.